White House leaks and threatening to throw those responsible behind bars.
These leaks that have been going on for the last 6 months are incredibly dangerous. It's people who want to destroy this presidency and will stop at nothing.
I'm doing my job every single day. I am not running for president. I am not running for president.
There has always been a section of the left, which I call as the whiny party, the party that doesn't really want to win.
Republican voters are sick and tired of Congress failing to pass the president's agenda. And our next guest is suing the party for fraud.
You don't want to do what you were obligated to do, what you promised to do, give the money back. I'm ready to go to trial tomorrow.
Well, the Green Beret Challenge has taken over the plaza this morning.
3, 2, 1, go!
You got it, Tyler! You got it! You got it!
It's good to be alive right about now.
When I take on Clayton later in the show, there will be no cooperation on this challenge. What about you? Green Beret Challenge. Out there on the plaza this morning, inspired by our U.S. Special Forces Special Operator.
That means Clayton actually has to do it with you, because I think he's a little bit. I think you're a little bit sore from yesterday. So I think you are emotionally sore.
Emotionally
because
No, I expected to. Well, no. First of all, we were told that it was going to be skee ball.
Yesterday we had a carnival on the show, and they said the skee ball was going to be out there. Now, then it was actually basketball. Now, I've played a little bit of basketball in my day, so have you.
Played in college.
But you also played.
I played in
and
high
so we
school.
said whoever wins the basketball shootout does not have to go into the dunk tank. We made a gentleman's agreement. We shook on it. We signed a contract.
So I climbed up. I went up onto the dunk tank. You each had a shot to get me. You blew it.
You blew it. Anyone who's been to a carnival knows each individual gets 3 shots. It's not 3 shots, 1 ball per person.
Well,
so he didn't go in.
So
I ran to hit the button and he got out. See,
now you ran up to hit the button, and that's cheating.
No,
Okay.
that's,
and I wasn't
that's
going to give
called
you.
No, I did hit the button with the 4th ball, but you'd already moved. So he slithered away like a snake.
That's right.
Clayton did.
That's right.
So we've been asking you this morning, what do you think of that? Do you think it was fair that he got out of this? And you guys have been emailing us. Thank you for this, for all of your support and your responses. This one comes from John in Tucson. He says to Clayton, suck it up, Buttercup. He won, you lost.
John, don't make me drive down there.
Oh, this one, KD from Wisconsin says, Clayton, cluck, 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 chick, chick, chick.
Yeah. Pamela from Naples writes, Clayton, gorgeous suit and tie this morning. Why should you get all wet? Exactly, Pamela. My thought exactly.
You took your tie off and your jacket off.
I'm not going to ruin my whole afternoon.
Just slithered
That water
right
was
away.
cold. That water was cold. You know what? I'm going to ask Corey Lewandowski if he would do it. Former Donald Trump campaign manager, Corey Lewandowski. Would you have gotten into a dunk tank?
Hey, I'd do anything. You know that. I'm all for it.
Oh, well
He's not a
said,
buttercup.
sir.
He's not a buttercup.
Right.
Corey, we know that you would. It's actually, if you were here more physically on the
Wait
show,
a
we know
second.
you'd be game for anything.
I went into the dunk tank. You guys just missed your opportunity to dunk
How many
me.
excuses are we
It's
getting?
excuses. I don't hear anything. Fake news.
All right, well, Corey, it is great to have you on this morning. Happy Sunday. Want to get your take off the top. We are 1 week now in the books. You've got a new man that is in charge of the White House, General John Kelly. Are we already seeing a difference?
We're absolutely seeing a difference. We're seeing a difference with the staff, with the uniformity of the staff, with the notion that it is one team. General Kelly was very clear about his direction to the staff. It's been widely reported that they put their country first, they put the president next, and then they put their own ambition third. And if anybody doesn't follow that rule, I think General Kelly has been very sure about the fact that he has the full authority of the president to dismiss any staff that isn't willing to follow the president's agenda. I think the notion inside the White House is there's new leadership there. The staff is excited. They're energized. They're focused on getting the president's agenda done, and this is a much-needed change.
So in addition to driving that agenda, one of the things that has stalled it in a way, or has been used against his administration, are the leaks. We've asked a lot of people. In fact, Dr. James Mitchell was just on the program here earlier, and we asked him, what would you do to get a hold of the leaks inside the White House? This is what he had to say.
I would make it clear that those people who are leaking are potentially in trouble, and those people who have knowledge of who's leaking and protecting those people are also in trouble. Career-ending, possibly jail time trouble. So I would suggest that they look at the pattern of leaks. You know, maybe there's something, put together a link chart of sorts so that you can look at where these leaks are coming from. And I would interview the people in those areas, because people talk, they brag, they crow, they try to provide justifications for what they're doing.
What do you know about what they're doing inside the White House there, Corey?
Well, what I think they're going to do, because General Kelly is a professional, is they're going to crack down on these leaks. And what we saw this week was Attorney General Jeff Sessions has come out and said he will continue to crack down on the leaks. Look, these leaks are issues of national security. This isn't did Johnny come to work late today and was Mary 15 seconds late at her desk. These are classified conversations that are taking place between world leaders that are being subjected to public scrutiny and public information. This is very serious information. We've seen that. We've seen one individual who was a contractor to the NSA already prosecuted for leaking information. I am certain that General Kelly and Attorney General Jeff Sessions will continue to find who these leaks are. I hope they prosecute these people. I hope they put them in handcuffs and walk them out the door and make a very clear determination to their colleagues that this will not be tolerated.
Well, Corey, another angle on inside the White House is, who's coming in, who's coming out. There's been some concern, especially on the NSC, that some Trump loyalists are being pushed out in favor of even Obama holdovers. Is there a trouble? Do you have any concern that some Trump loyalists have been pushed out of the West Wing? Does the president have any concerns about that?
I think the president has given General Kelly the full authority to staff his White House to the best of his ability. And right now, General Kelly has wide latitude, in my opinion, to bring the people in or ask those people to leave that he thinks are going to serve the president in the appropriate manner. Let's give this guy a little bit of leeway. Let's give him an opportunity. He's been here for a week. He's making decisions. He's changing things in the White House for the better. And, we can evaluate his staffing decisions as you move forward. But I think right now, General Kelly has a core competency that is much needed in that White House as the chief of staff. He understands the national security component of things. So let's give him the ability to bring the people in that he thinks are best to serve the president, and those that he thinks aren't best to serve, he should have the full discretion to ask them to move on.
I want to get your take on something that was on the front page of the Drudge Report last night, a new report out in the New York Times that says that there are a couple senators, there are a couple of Republicans who are sort of in this deep state right now, this sort of shadow government that are sort of planning a run against the president in 2020. Specifically, they name in this piece Senators Tom Cotton, Ben Sasse, who've already been to Iowa this year, Governor John Kasich of Ohio. He's eyeing an early return to New Hampshire. So Republicans could mount the first ever, run against a sitting president in 2020. What do you make of this report?
I like to call most of it fake news, to be honest with you, because I think it came from the failing New York Times. But here's what I do think. I think Tom Cotton is one of President Trump's most best advocates in the U.S. Senate, one of his closest allies. But look, let's go back and look at John Kasich. I think Donald Trump in the primary, I happen to be involved in this race, we beat him by 19 points, not exactly a close race in the state of New Hampshire. I think in John Kasich's home state of Ohio, we beat him by 11 points, 10, 11 points. John didn't support President Trump, and if he thinks he's going to run against President Trump, I'll take the opportunity to volunteer for that race immediately to continue to destroy John Kasich's career. No question about it. He's been a terrible governor. He was a terrible candidate for president. He has no chance to run whatsoever. But look, let's be very, very clear. Donald Trump is a leader of the Republican Party. And there are other candidates, U.S. senators, members of Congress, who are going around and raising money for the local parties. This is what they do. I've recently been asked to come and help the state of New Hampshire raise some money. I'm not exactly running for president of the United States in New Hampshire, as you know. So this is part of the notion of members of Congress, the vice president is out helping raise money for the state party so they can have a strong brand as they gear up for the next election cycle. I don't think anybody is seriously going to challenge Donald Trump. If they've learned anything, they should have learned the last cycle. He's the greatest politician our country's ever seen. I don't think they should take a chance with him.
Corey, what about just doing your job? You talk about raising money for for the party, for the Republican Party, many of these names are in Congress. I mean, if you're going to run for president, you actually have to have something to speak to, things that you have actually gotten done that prove that you can do a good job as president of the United States. I mean, I read these articles and I'm like, why not focus on today and actually providing, doing something for the American people?
They went on vacation.
Yeah, now they are.
Well, not only do they go on vacation, but I think Ben Sasse was recently interviewing for the job at the Heritage Foundation. I mean, look, why don't we sit down behind your desk? Why don't you fulfill your promises to the American people that says you're going to repeal and replace Obamacare? Why don't you get tax reform done for the middle class so they can have more money? Why don't you make sure that we've got a transportation infrastructure bill? Why don't you vote for the money on the wall? Why don't you pass a budget for the first time in 10 years? The American people are tired of a broken Washington. Stop going out and pretending you're going to get another job. Why don't you just do the job we elect you to do?
Don't you think Ben Sasse will ultimately, folks, him and others like him will have to soon realize they're undermining the most effective conservative president this country's had since Ronald Reagan, who's trying to do the things they say they want to do with maybe a different style? Do Republicans really think they're going to run against or not support this president and it will benefit them?
Well, they would only do so at their own demise, Pete. As you know, the American people support the president. They support his agenda. They support tax cuts. The difference with this president is he outlined what he wanted to do in his campaign, and he's following through on those promises. The notion that we didn't get repealed and replaced on the U.S. Senate when we have a majority of Republicans there by one vote is a shame. The American people are tired of a broken Washington. That's why they sent Donald Trump there. He's a great messenger. He has a vision for our country. And if these senators and these congressmen want to actually do something for the good of the country, vote to join the president and fulfill the campaign promises which 60 million people voted for.
Right.
Yeah.
Corey, always great to have you. You're in beautiful San Diego. Go enjoy that.
Tan. Go get some more sun. Yeah, enjoy. Thanks, Corey.
Thank you.
Thanks, Corey.
All right, turning now to some breaking news we're following as well this morning. The U.S. is joining forces with China and Russia by handing down massive economic sanctions against North Korea. And this, of course, after the rogue nation conducted several missile tests last month.
Sanctions will cut deep, and in doing so will give the North Korean leadership a taste of the deprivation they have chosen to inflict on the North Korean people. But we should not fool ourselves into thinking we have solved the problem.
President Trump tweeting this: the United Nations Security Council just voted 15-0 to sanction North Korea. China and Russia voted with us. Very big financial impact. The sanctions include a ban on exports worth over $1 billion US. Also this, the flight carrying nearly 300 people takes a terrifying turn when severe turbulence injures at least 10 people. The American Airlines flight from Greece to Philadelphia getting violently rocked just before landing. Flight attendants had just finished handing out drinks when the plane suddenly lurched, causing them to go flying and slamming passengers against the walls. Wow, 3 passengers and 7 crew members, they were hospitalized. And Justin Trudeau with a major fail while taking a ride in a kayak. Take a look at this. A Canadian Prime Minister slipping and falling into the water while on a trip to British Columbia. To make things worse, though, some newlyweds nearby saw the whole thing happen, but they still decided to take a selfie before leaving, which is just classic culture today.
Just Justin from Canada doing some kayaking.
Right. He's drowning over there. Can we get a selfie?
Can we focus on us first?
All right. A new opinion piece this morning claims that the U.S. has more unicorns than Trump Democrats. But Tammy Bruce says you can find thousands of those Democrats in 2 states alone. She's found them. She's been out on a unicorn hunt. She'll join us next.
He's a unicorn hunter. And Todd is making a pit stop for the big NASCAR race at Watkins Glen today. We'll check back with him just moments ahead.
I see a dust trail following an old red Nova, baby blue eyes.
All right, we are back with this. A new Washington Post op-ed asks, do you believe in mermaids, unicorns, and fairies? Well, Clayton does. But if so, you may have taken interest in a new mythical creature that appeared during the 2016 election, the Trump Democrat.
But our next guest says she can find thousands of those Democrats in 2 states alone. Here to weigh in, Fox News Trivia and radio talk show host Tammy Bruce. Tammy,
hi there.
Nice
to be on the curvy couch up here.
We
love having you guys.
It's great to have you. So you read this op-ed piece. The argument is these aren't folks that we should be focusing on because they don't exist.
Right.
You say not only do they exist, but I'm kind of one of them.
Yeah, look, I've been a Democrat all my life. I voted for Barack Obama in the primary in 2008, and it was so disheartening to me to do that. I mean, I liked Hillary less, but I then became an independent. And what we're looking at here, and this is the problem for the Democrats right now, this is not really even a partisan argument. The fact is something happened, and I'll give you some numbers. Nearly 46,000 Pennsylvania Republicans switched parties. They were so upset.
Not just votes.
Not
parties.
just parties. They became Republicans. The same thing in Massachusetts as an example. I mean, deep blue Massachusetts. Nearly 20,000 Democrats, at least, became Republicans last year alone. So you're looking at, they may not be Democrats now, but they certainly used to be. And even still, this is an argument now where people who used to just vote for the party, a straight party ticket, are now voting not for their party or for a favorite person. They're voting for their family. They're voting for the future, and that's what the Democrats have to now need to look at. They can't argue for partisanship. They've got to address that they have failed people and what it is they're going to do to win them back.
We used to call these Reagan Democrats.
Yes.
Right? And Reagan Democrats, of course, famously were the ones that pushed tax reform over the hump. And he needed that additional support. He had to go on television and do that bar graph and pie chart live television address from the Oval Office. These people are going to be the drivers of getting maybe Trump tax reform across the finish line, too, because they're concerned about their own wallets.
Yes, well, that's it. And look, remember what Reagan came in after, which was Carter. The same kind of angst that the American people realize that the people we're voting for do not have our backs. We've got to re-engage here. And what Donald Trump needs to do is the very same thing. Use the power of the Oval Office to communicate directly with everyone, because he too, look at what in your last segment talking about whether or not Republicans are going to challenge their sitting president. We've got to view Donald Trump as an independent. And that's how voters viewed him, I think. So Democrats have to realize this is a fight for the soul of the American people, and to treat them not like what you've seen with how they've treated West Virginians over the last few days and the denigration of them. But it shows you, you've got to, if they've got contempt for the American people, and it appears they do, the Democrats are going to have a lot of trouble next year.
So you really disagree with the advice that Dana Milbank gave in this article, because he says Democrats don't have to contort themselves to appeal to the mythical Trump Democrats by toughening their positions on immigration or weakening their support of universal health care. He says just focus on being a Democrat.
Well, look, even the Democrats at this point don't even know what that means. The Democrat base, many of my friends are still Democrats, really are very upset because they see the world in turmoil. They see a dumpster fire of the economy here, and this is why people voted for Trump. So that is bad advice, and it is still a delusion of it's like Hillary Clinton's problem, a refusal to admit what it is that's happened. We know it wasn't the Russians. We know there wasn't some kind of involvement in that regard. It's their own failure, and unless they face it, they're going to have trouble.
The unicorn hunter.
You've proven it wrong.
They're out there.
All right, coming up, a veteran finds this lost Purple Heart and spends over a decade looking for the rightful owner. Now he's finally getting a chance to return it. You're going to meet with him and the fallen hero's family. This incredible story, that is up next.
Everybody's dreaming big. Everybody's just getting by.
And welcome back. Breaking moments ago, a Venezuelan official says there's been a terrorist attack at a military base and several arrests have been made. Now, this coming hours after the opposition leader to the socialist government was released from captivity overnight. These videos now that you're looking at showing his capture by government forces on Tuesday. This after months of deadly protests there, leading to a controversial vote to form a constitutional assembly that's now tasked with forming a brand new government. And the FBI is investigating an explosion inside a Minnesota mosque just before the morning prayer. The blast blew a hole in the side of the building and even damaged the prayer leader's office. Witnesses say someone threw a device into the mosque just before the explosion. Fortunately, though, no one was hurt so far. No suspects have been caught. Pete, Abby?
Well, 21-year-old Marine Jack Keitlinger was killed on May 29th, Memorial Day, 1951, while fighting in Korea. He earned a Purple Heart for his service, but the medal was lost.
Well, that was until another veteran, retired Army medic Kevin Cody, found it and spent 12 years searching for Keitlinger's family. Finally, this lost and now found Purple Heart will be returned along with 7 other lost and recovered medals at a ceremony tomorrow on National Purple Heart Day.
Joining us now is Jack Keitlinger's great niece, Bernie Ridgway, Staff Sergeant Kevin Cody, who found the medal and returned it, and Major Zach Fike. He's the founder of Purple Hearts Reunited and a member of the Vermont Army National Guard. Thank you all three for being here. And all three of you didn't know each other until this whole process started, but now your story is very much linked. I want to ask you, Bernie, first. Tell us a little bit about what you know about your great uncle.
He was always my grandfather's favorite brother. They're only 3 years apart. They were born in Pennsylvania. small mining town. They